I have sci-fi terrain, I have fantasy terrain, I have no modern day terrain, and definitely nothing British. Bottle of water. Welcome back to Lizard of Doom. I am Max. Now, someone who doesn't have any modern day-ish fantasy or normal terrain, that's a problem for someone who is developing a modern day-ish fantasy wargame. So I'm going to make something myself. I put this up to a Patreon vote, how this project was going to go, what I was going to do this week, and this just squeaked it, just past the other two options, which are a Nighthaunt army painted in the blackest black, and also some more Trench Crusade. Those two projects will be going head to head for the next release, which will be coming out in a couple of weeks because I am away on my honeymoon next week. So no sponsor on this video, so check out LIZARDOFDOOM.com for some Lizard of Doom merch and my beginner-friendly terrain kit. This is very easy to make and kind of self-explanatory. This that I do today will be going on there in a couple of weeks, but will be considerably more expensive because it is massive. Remember to like and subscribe, please. I am going for 40k in this year, 40k subscribers, and I'll do some kind of 40k special when we get there. Without further ado, let's get on with the project. Now, I've designed this as a really large piece of terrain. You may think when you see this that the doors are massive, and that's because this is to be in my fantasy setting where there will be fantasy races that are bigger than your average human/humanoid. So this is kind of an accessible to all shop in that world. I mean, ogres need to buy crisps too. You can see how many pieces of wood that this building takes to make. I have pushed it to the limits because I cut on A4 blanks. This is the biggest I could make this building. First of all, I need to find all the bottom floors. In Britain, we call that the ground floor. If you say first floor, you're wrong. That's the ground. Then the next one up is the first floor. I also have to be careful to save these little bits that I've placed in the window just to save space on the wooden sprue and help build bits later out of excess wood that would be wasted otherwise. Once I have found all of my bottom floor walls, I can now assemble it on this checkerboard style tile floor. I'll be making this really dirty and gross. Have you ever looked at the floor in a corner shop? Disgusting. Once this is all popped out, I will have to clean it up. These little notches here are to help the building align when the first floor is on. And I'm just going to scrape off these little tabs with a very sharp scalpel to make them nice and flat. Then you can see that I have put these holes for stairs on the inside leading up. And the two brick walls need to go the opposite side for the door, because I've made some special facades for the front of this corner shop, and they will be going over from the first floor hanging down. So the back walls already have the texture cut into them. The front walls have these windows that are in the style of a British corner shop, and then there'll be a little excess detail hanging down and signage on the next floor. Once I have them all glued in, I now need to do the stairs, and I've cut a little line just so I know the front of each step is that side. And I'm going to use this big piece here to hold them up as the stairs. I've designed this, took a lot of figuring out to design this. I also need this area. The actual outside frame is the door for the front of the shop, and this little triangle piece will come in handy too. I used the top step and the bottom step to align the staircase because I did not want to accidentally push all the other steps around and have them blocking my way when I was putting in the side of it. So I used them as a guide and then filled in the middle stairs afterwards. Once that was done, it's time to use that little triangle. That just pops in here to create a little ceiling for the door, because otherwise that looked a bit odd there, and it would be a hole into the shop from the outside with the door on. The front door obviously slots in here, but what I'm going to do is actually put it kind of open and inside the shop instead to kind of ease gameplay. That's something to take into consideration. Both of these doors are actually going to be open, so it feels like people can just run through the shop from front to back. Next, we'll be making the shelves. I'll need this piece to hold the shelves and the two little bits at the bottom to stabilize. And there are three pieces that look like this with a line cut down the middle, so I can align it with the actual unit to glue it. I'm not going to be making a till or like anything to go on the walls. I'm just giving a hint that this is a shop. This is going to be somewhere in between, you know, an accurate British corner shop, but also a playable piece of terrain to actually make it full like a normal corner shop. that's overcrowded and really slim walkways, it's not going to work. So I need to think about how you move models around this as well, and just putting one shelving unit in the middle with space to move around the edge creates a nice line of sight blocker for people hiding in the shop, and also allows movement around the shelving as well for people trying to catch those sneaky hiders hiding behind the bubblegum. Once that was done, you can see that fits very nicely in the middle there, with enough space for people to run from door to door and also move around in the shop. I got a 50mm base just to test this, because that's the biggest anyone's going to be in my game, is on a 50mm base. And yeah, you can see there's lots of places in this shop to place this base. And also it's about the right size to fit through the doors. So the doors are exactly the right size to get the biggest models in and out. Now the first floor, I will need this kind of half piece of wooden floor I've designed here with a gap to make sure the stairs can actually go upstairs. This will be a smaller room, but with windows for a nice sniper position. Again, saving those bits that have extra stuff on from the middle of the window frames. Once I've popped all of these out, you can see the bottoms of the walls have different amounts of slots. That's because they line up with different sides on this floor. Really easy to align because of this. You can see which piece is meant to go where, and it matches the brick textures and also flat textures on the floor below it. So you can see how it's going to stack after you've built it. Both of the flat textures touch in the front corner, and then both of the brick textures touch in the back corner. The floor does not sit flush with this design. It overhangs slightly, and that is to help it. I'm not going to push it in now because the glue's still wet and I don't want to glue it to itself, but that's to help it align with the floor underneath and sit tight when you're playing a game and not be knockable, so you don't smash your own miniatures. Next, I made these quite simple little windowsills just to pop in the bottom there and give it a bit more reality, because this was looking rather flat and not very three-dimensional. This just brings it out, because this is going to be quite a blocky building. To gain a bit of height in there, I have got these little squares, and then they are put together to make large cardboard boxes. Because the windowsills are quite high in there, I'm concerned about smaller models not being able to see out of the really good sniper position that this provides. So these little cardboard boxes will be in there for them to stand on and get a better position to shoot the mugs down on the street. They'll go just in the corners like this. And then you can still grab cover off the side of the room, but be able to see out of the windows to pop some skulls. Now the roof, I've gone with a weird kind of concrete texture on this one, and there are little walls that then go around the edge. And they're designed exactly the same as the floor below it. They don't quite meet at the bottom, so it will lock into place with the other one underneath, and you won't be able to knock it off easily in a game. Once again, the smooth sides meet each other in one of the corners and the brick sides meet each other in one of the corners. So everything is going to align with each other when I put this on top of the rest of the floors. The last little bit is this bit of interestingness on the roof. I've made a little aircon unit, really simple, a few little screws on the top there, but otherwise it's going to be mainly relying on the paint job for its texture. These pieces go together as a little rectangle, and then this bit glues on top. Easy peasy, nice little bit of interest, provides extra cover for people fighting on the rooftop, and is a little bit of height as well in case someone wants to stand even higher on the middle of the roof to get a better shot. It doesn't have to go in the middle, of course, you can put it anywhere you want on the roof. Now, these facades are going to go over the very smooth, boring sides of the shop on the front two edges. You can see one is slightly taller than the other. That is to cover the gap where the building joins and make it a smooth transition in the middle, as these two pieces will meet like this. Once I've glued up the first floor, I place these overhanging the bottom floor and peeking up onto the roof edges as well on those smooth sides. This is where the brick texture is going to come in, and it also gives it a bit of depth and sinks those window frames further to give it a little bit more realism. I used a bunch of clamps to hold this in place. There was only one little place at the bottom that I couldn't clamp because these clamps were too small, so I'll have to glue that afterwards when the rest is dry. But for now, this is looking pretty good if I do say so myself. Primed in a dingy brown colour, just with a normal rattle can. This is ready to go now. He strikes, he swipes, he'll stab you in the night. It's the sponge! It's the sponge! The sponge is the way of painting terrain. It is my most favourite way to paint terrain, and it builds up really good texture on otherwise flat MDF kits. This is a godsend. I'm also doing Premier Colours because that is my local corner shop, an establishment I frequent for energy drinks and crisps. They have a purple and yellow colour palette, very classy, and I will be replicating this and making it look run down by using the sponging technique to add that texture to it, to make it look weathered and beaten, like the kind of disrepair most of the UK is currently in. The brick texture was a little bit different. The sponging went on there quite heavily for the first layer, and then I had to get lots of fresh pieces of sponge because when they got sodden, you can't do as lighter texture and it just puts down too much paint. And for the next 2 layers, getting brighter through these orangey brick colours, I had to keep switching out and keep using new bits of sponge, so I wasn't plastering this in too light a paint. After this, I used the original letters from within this as stencils for where to place those little knobbly bits from the middle of the letters. Now, this is all about telling the story of this building. There's a horrible leak from this corner, water damage going over down this landlord paint job on the walls. And if you haven't rented a building in Britain that doesn't have black mould seeping from its corners, have you really rented a building in Britain? This is a must-have in every British building. Black mould, the ultimate accessory. From the bird poo on the front to era-appropriate posters. Now, my game is going to be set in 1999 when we start it. This is some 90s ass posters on the wall. Very, very appropriate. Also, what's happened in this room? Oh no, there appears to have been a hole in the floor. What could have happened here? Oh no, it appears that someone was shot. They were murdered in this room. Yes, this is from the crime-ridden city of Grotport. No one is safe. Not even your average store clerk. What were they up to? What were they smuggling in those cardboard boxes that are near the window? Adding a little road sign for the high street makes you instantly aware where this building is in a British town, its natural habitat. Now, an overly complicated parking sign, the standard on a British high street. When can I park here? Don't know. Will I get a ticket? Yes. Now, a little bit from one of these Tesco magazines that you get for free. Lots of adverts in the windows of normal corner shops, usually for booze, sometimes for snacks. So I thought this would be a good place to get advertisements from to use in the windows, like these crisps that actually match the colour scheme for this window. But that would inhibit gameplay. I still wanted you to be able to shoot out of these windows, so instead of doing that, I did something different. I plastered the walls inside to try and give that same vibe, but without inhibiting the gameplay and still allowing people to dive through these windows and shoot through them too, and still give the vibe of the corner shop with the big garish adverts. Next, a little bit of graffiti. First of all, I did a really purposefully, I swear it was purposefully, bad tag for one of the gangs in this game that I'm making this for. And then I did some normal kind of street graffiti tags where you just kind of go with the pen and it makes a shape. And tell me that doesn't look like a normal street tag that you would see anywhere. Let's do it again. Squiggle wiggle, straight lines, squiggle wiggle wiggle. There we go. Perfect. That looks like the nonsense you normally see. This poster was actually from a gig, I believe in 1997. I may be wrong, but it's about that era. So it should have been up for a couple of years. So I need to weather that. And I did this by just wetting my thumb and rubbing and scratching this paper after the PVA glue had dried on. Like the posters inside the building, I just printed out a miniature version of this from Google Images to then PVA glue to the outside of the building. And with the story of this British average corner shop complete, this looks like something you could walk past every day on your way to work. Or maybe where you get your working man's breakfast in your morning, your energy drink and nicotine. That is the modern full English in this country. But also, it is an incredibly playable piece of terrain with multiple floors, lots of interest, lots of places to seek cover, but also incredible mobility as you can move straight through it. It is functional, it is useful, it is thematic. So thank you to my Patreons for supporting me. Your names are on screen now. If you would like to join them and help support this channel, that would be much appreciated. Thank you for the Patreons who I've got currently. I am doing weekly updates on this game I'm making now, and just before I've posted this video, I've put a picture of a dwarven sculpt of a police officer that is currently work in process that I'm working on with my sculptor. So I said earlier, no sponsor on this video. So that is because it is January and all the advertisers blow their load before Christmas, and also ad revenue is poor because they also blow their load with YouTube before Christmas. So I really do appreciate the Patreons. I will be back in a couple of weeks with either Trench Crusade painting or a Night Haunt army, or a whole army in one go. So let's see what that is, Patreons. Vote for that. That poll will be going up today when this video goes out. That is all from me. So remember to leave a like for the like throne and a comment for the algorithm gods. It is not a pile of shame. It is a pile of future fun. This building is genuinely massive. See you next time, kids. Peace.